And now take your thumb into your hand and use 2 breaths. The first breath is inhale and bring your arms above your head and leave your shoulders low. Breathing out here. Hold as you breathe in. Breathe out again. Put your hands together. Feel the friction, the energy, the connection between your hands and your fingers. And take 2 breaths. In through your nose. Out through your mouth. Arms up and then behind the head. 2 breaths. If behind the head doesn't feel right, then bring the hands in front of the neck instead. Full extension as you breathe in. And slowly, with mindfulness, bringing hands to heart as you breathe out. Feel the pressing of the hands against each other for a breath here at the heart. Lovely. And now we've been sitting extra long because I did all that talking. And so if you choose to stand now because you need a break, or if you want to change your seated position, adjust. All of these openings, these ones that you know so well because we do them every time, can be done either sitting or standing. So we're lengthening the arms. If you're sitting, that may be resting your back of your wrists on your knees. If you're standing, your hands will be dangling beside you. Or lifting an ear. Your body knows this one well. Let's see if we can do it mindfully. Stay present as you take your 2 breaths in through the nose and all the way out through the mouth. Second time. When you're ready, over to the other side. You're noticing your neck, noticing the body. What are you feeling? And taking 2 mindful breaths on this side. Through the nose, out through the mouth. And we're doing both sides twice because our necks get used a lot. See if we can do any more letting go of the neck and releasing the second time for the 2 breaths. When you're ready, over to the other side. And again, noticing the neck. Can you let go and take 2 breaths? And return to center, and we'll look side to side. So mindfully, now changing to look at the side wall. Keeping the back of your neck nice and long. And 2 mindful breaths. Maybe even feel that the diaphragm is engaged in breathing. Then over to the other side. Noticing the neck this direction and 2 breaths. Returning to center, keeping your torso right up through your shoulders as is. Just the chin and chest. Chin drops toward the chest. So just the neck has moved for 3 breaths. And walk your eyes across the floor, up the opposite wall, as far as your eyes wish to take you across the ceiling. And open your mouth so your jaw is relaxed for some open mouth breaths. And walk the eyes back until the chin is on or close to the chest again for 2 more breaths. And let the head float to center. If you remember your intention that you set at the beginning of class, I invite you to consider how can you infuse it into these next couple of poses. So if you're sitting, you're going to rest your arm across your lap and bring the other arm up to the ear. If you're standing, your arm will be up by your ear, but the other arm might be down or pressed against your hip for support. How can you infuse your intention as you breathe in and lengthen your arms skyward? Get longer, making more room between each of your ribs, getting taller and feeling the extension that happens in your spine as well as your side body. And then your choice if you'd like to take it into more of a side bend, or if you'd rather keep lifting, getting taller. Lots of breathing here, considering your intention. Back to center. Other side. So seated, the arm is resting. Standing, the arm might be propped against the hip. My arm we haven't done yet reaches for sky. And start to breathe in and lengthen it skyward. What do you notice on this side? And where would you like to take it? More up or more over? And can you infuse your intention into this pose? Back to center. If you're standing, you'll now widen your feet just a little bit wider than hip width. If you're seated, we can get right to taking one arm out in front of us, the other arm off to the side. And because we are focusing on fingers, wrists, arms today, this is an opportunity to really be purposeful. So really reach your fingers. Reach your fingers so that you're feeling as though you could lengthen your fingers by reaching them. Do it for both hands. Feel the extension through your wrists. Your arms are long. And now keep all of that true as you drop your shoulders down from your ears. And as you look past your long fingers, and as you take this little twist towards the back. So we haven't moved very far. It's a small twist. And then 2 big breaths as you do 2 things. Keep reaching all the way from arms out through fingers and keep dropping shoulders. And let's change. The other arm goes in front, other arm off to the side. Reach from shoulders, past elbows, past wrists, through those long reaching fingers, and drop your shoulders and look past your side fingers as you take that little twist for 2 big breaths. Good. Take it into an eagle now. Again, sitting or standing. Bring one arm across the body. If possible, the other arm is wrapping around the bottom with the fingers of one hand touching the palm of the other, and the thumbs pointed at your nose. That's the direction you want your hands to be. If this doesn't work for your body, just hold the top arm up using the bottom arm and give it a nice pull across the body. You'll get that same back of the shoulder stretch. And again, let's be conscious about where our fingers are. So we want fingers to be as long as they can in this pose. And thumbs today to be stretched away from the hand. So instead of having the thumbs close to where the fingers are, stretch those thumbs so that they're more pointed towards your nose and mouth. And pull your elbows away from your chest. And let's breathe as all of these muscles get a nice stretch. Notice what you feel and where you feel it. Good. Let go of that side. Give a little shake to those arms. And change sides. Other arm across. Other arm wraps underneath. Fingers touch palm with thumbs pointed towards you. Or the alternate, which you can still do the stretched out hand. Pull the thumb away from the fingers if you're in the holding up arm position as well. So your choice. And let's exaggerate. Fingers are really stretched best they can in this position. Thumbs are pulled away from the fingers, aiming towards you. And we are breathing as we pull the elbows away from the chest. Let that go. Take your hands and interlace your fingers now behind you. Pull your wrists apart from each other. So we may get a stretch already into the forearms and wrists this way. And see if you are able to lift your arms up and away from your body so that we're now open across the chest as well. And breathe. Is there a way to infuse your intention here? Release, give yourself a hug. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. And breathe gently into your low back as we get a little mobility there. Our hips are locked in place, but we're getting lots of movement in the low back. And then changing the arms. We've got one elbow on top, just switch it. Other elbow on top, shoulders low, breathe into low back. And stretch out those legs. Have a sip of water, and if you aren't standing yet, we are transitioning up to standing. And if you've got socks, now's the time to let them go. Excellent. Let's ground ourselves again. So again, one of the preparatory things that we do to ready ourselves for yoga practice is to feel purposefully the placement of each foot. We aim to make them hip width apart and parallel so that inside of the feet look like train tracks. They're parallel to each other. And we ground ourselves by lifting our 5 toes and seeing if we can lay them down one toe at a time, starting with the pinky toe. And getting a sense of the feeling of the toes connecting us to earth, as well as the 4 corners of the foot connecting us. So imagine, where are the corners of your foot? Feel that connection. And then lift the 5 toes of the other foot, lay them down one at a time. Find the 4 corners of that foot. Ground yourself. And I invite you to do some kind of grounding, whether it's with your feet or some other way, as part of you preparing for any yoga practice that you do yourself at home. Now, we keep the knees gentle, a little bit bent, a little core contraction, a little squeeze inside the Kegel, below abdominals. We lengthen our spine all the way up through the crown of the head, and we stand tall in mountain pose. Mountain is one of the staples of yoga. It's simple, but it's all about intention, right? Otherwise, it would just be standing around. So we're doing it, feeling our feet, feeling our core, lengthening our spine, dropping our shoulders. And now consider, how could your intention be part of this pose? And perhaps it's just in thought. You know, maybe your intention doesn't relate to mountain pose at all. However, maybe it's just in breathing or being present or having the thought of your intention be with you. Maybe that's how it comes in. With our feet grounding us, we are going to get some movement into our spine with our usual forward release. Bring your chin towards your chest and take a breath. And mindfully start to roll down one vertebra at a time. You're noticing all the parts of your back, and you're pausing anytime you find a spot that needs a little healing. Breathe into it. And then continue rolling down. You decide how far to go. If there's a point of the back that feels, oof, you know, a little not right today, then just stay up high in the upper back and neck area. So you don't have to go all the way. If you choose to roll all the way down, and if your hands end up touching the ground, then you might hold your hands at the elbows, get a little longer through your spine, and try straightening one leg
as a variation. And bend both your knees and straighten the other leg. And do each one again. Contract your core and start to rise up. Take your time with the head as the last part of you to float forward. And then we'll equalize. Now, today, as you equalize, we're doing the same equalizer we always do. But check it out as you make your fist for the equalizer. How are your hands today? Are you able to make a fist? Is there any awareness of any difficulty or joint difficulties? Some of us get arthritis in our hands from time to time. How does it feel to make that fist today? You don't have to do anything with that information, you're just noticing. And whatever fist shape you've been able to make, take the outside, the punching side of the fist into the low back on both sides. Draw your elbows toward each other. Feel the openness that this creates across your chest. Leave your shoulders low and walk your eyes up. Open your mouth and breathe. Walk the eyes back. Shake out the arms. Good. Okay, we're going to do a little bit with the arms, wrists, hands as promised. So shake up the legs, replant them hip width apart. And sometimes we've called this apple picking. Imagine you are in an Okanagan orchard or an orchard wherever you want to picture it. And you can pick the fruit tree of your choice. Mine is peaches. And now you are reaching to pick. What is the fruit of choice? It's up high and it's a little bit over. You're having to reach side to side. So in this pose, of course, we're lengthening our sides, so getting a little more extension, but maybe feeling some opening into the armpit. The spine gets an opportunity to move a couple of different directions. Maybe you add just a little twist to it. So it's kind of like that peach is off to the side and almost a little bit behind. Play with this. But now see if you can do it with more arm extension. So you're still reaching, but can you reach all the way from your shoulder to the tips of your fingers, trying to reach that far, far fruit on both sides. So you're as long through your arm all the way to the tips of your fingers as you can be. And breathe. Good, and lower them down. Excellent. We've also done lots of opening with our wrist this way, where we press hand onto the fingers of the other arm. Maybe I'll come a little closer so you can really see. So both our arms are in front of us. You're taking one hand and pressing onto the fingers and a little bit of the palm of the other hand to cause the wrist to be extended. Now this way we get to control how much. We'll be doing the version on the floor in a few minutes, but this is just a gentle, let's start to open it up. And what happens if you include the thumb? So when I do this, I often forget about the thumb and it's hanging out there on its own. What happens if you tuck the thumb close and also push the thumb? Sometimes that gives a little bit more stretch. One more breath there. Let that go, and we'll do the other hand. So same thing. Hand pushes on fingers and a bit of the palm. Take a breath. And get the thumb close by there, and also include the thumb. One more breath. And you're just noticing, what are you feeling?
Maybe you have incredibly loose forearms and you feel nothing. That's okay. Okay, let that go. I'm gonna do a little bit of a different one today. So again, I'm gonna come close to the camera so you can really see it. So the opposite, we just opened the hand one way. We're gonna open it the other way. So moving, if you have your hands out in front of you, we've now got our palms facing the ground. And we're bending the wrist so that the fingers are really pointed down. So with that idea, now take one hand and press against the back of the other hand and curl those fingers into a fist. Okay, so got one hand, palms facing down, curling the fingers into the fist, bringing the other hand to press on the back of the hand and really curl it. Okay, so we're pressing so that the fist has to come closer to the inside of the wrist. So press, curl, and here's the extra bit. You've now pressed and curled. You're going to twist so that the hand faces out. Okay, so you've already done the curling, pushing the back of the hand. Now we're going to turn it so that the hand faces the outside. And keep pushing. See if that gets a stretch into a new place for you. Keep curling. Take a breath. And shake it out. Good. Same thing on the other side. So hands are facing down. Other hand now makes a fist. Free hand is going to push on the back of that back of the hand as you curl that hand in towards you. You should get a beautiful stretch along the outer part of your forearm. So we've curled it so that the wrist is pointed towards your body. Now turn it so that you're pointing outside the body, off towards the side of your hip. And keep pushing with the other hand and breathing as you feel this stretch. Good. Shake all of that out. Well done. Come back to the mat if you're not there now. Replant your feet. And this time we're going to bring the arms up in front. Take a breath here. And then push the hands so that the fingers are facing the sky or reaching for the sky, and you're pushing your wrists like you're pushing the computer away from you, pushing something away. Shoulders low. Good. And we're going to do that same shape with the hands by bringing them in and out, pushing them out to the side. So your hands are pushed away from you. Fingers are pointed up towards the sky. Shoulders are low. Core is engaged just a little bit to help keep you stable and strong. Now, just in the same way as we curled the hands earlier, we're going to do that with our arms out. So keeping the arms extended. Now curl your hands into a fist. And start to move the fist so that it points towards the floor. Arms have stayed high, shoulders have stayed low, and take another breath. I sit at my computer for my day job. I do a fair bit of typing, and so I feel this in my wrists a lot. One more big breath. Shake it out. Excellent. Grab a sip of water. And step forward with one foot. Back foot, so it's a small step forward with the front toes pointed directly ahead. The back toes are gonna be pointed at 45 degrees. So this is actually warrior one, and we've played around with this one before. So sometimes we start moving the hips a little bit, just seeing how does it feel to face forward and then move to face sideways. And then purposely see if you can aim your hips to face forward, the same direction as your front toes are pointing. And then from here, we're going to keep the elbows tucked in close to the body with a gentle fist made. And then keeping the legs as they are, we're going to push the hands away from you, fingers point towards the sky, wrists are getting a stretch, and then pull the fists and elbows tucked into the body. And we'll just keep the arms moving. Push as you breathe out, pull, breathing in. Keep going. Forceful air. Last push, last pull. Excellent. Change feet. Other foot pointed forward. Other back foot has got the 45-degree angle. Take a moment to swivel. Just feel how it is for your hips. Point sideways, point forward. And then end up with your hips pointed forward, just like your front foot. And same thing with your arms. We're going to push, breathing out. Fingers pointed skyward. Pull the fist in. Push, breathing out. Pull, breathing in. Forceful air. Last time push. Last pull. Excellent. Let those go and change legs again. This time, front foot forward, still toes are pointed forward. But this time the back toes are trying to also point forward. So all toes are trying to point same direction, forward. If that doesn't work for your legs, change it up. Do what you can. Opposite arm as your forward knee is going to bend. And either you're going to take the free arm and give a push on the elbow, or if you're now feeling quite stretched and bendy, you might take that free arm around behind you and grab on to your fingers. If you don't reach the fingers, go back to this one. You'll get more stretch out of it, and you should feel a bit of a stretch even into the tricep here. Feel your feet on the ground. Take 2 more breaths. Press your back heel into the floor. Keep your legs as they are, but extend elbows wide now. So from one elbow to the other is nice and wide. The elbows have stayed the height of your shoulders. And see if you can keep the elbows the height of your shoulders, but drop your shoulders low. And spread your fingers. So big, expansive, forceful fingers. Thumb is reaching far from them. Fingers are spread out as much as you can. These are active hands for 2 more breaths. Bring the arms in, change legs. So 1 foot forward, pressing the back heel into the mat. The front knee is bent, the back leg is straight. All toes are trying to point forward. Opposite arm as your forward knee is the one that bends. And either you're going to push on the elbow, Start to get a stretch in the arm. Or you're gonna reach around behind you and see if there's any linking up with fingers. 3 breaths. Pressing that back heel into the floor, feeling the stretch through the legs. Keeping the neck easy. And then opening up those elbows as wide as they can be, elbow to elbow. Elbows are at shoulder height. Shoulders are dropping low from ears. Big fingers, active fingers, stretched out thumbs. 2 more breaths. Long wrists. Excellent. Bring it in. Shake it out. And standing at the back of your mat, we're going to end up in a downward dog, but we're going to do that in an interesting way. Now, if you know that downward dog is not for you, then you might bring a chair close by. So when we're rolling down and then walking to downward dog, you're rolling down as far as the chair and then grabbing on and playing around with the length of your body, length of the arms and the positioning of the feet to get the most out of the chair version of downward dog. If you're doing the full version, stand tall, find your mountain, take a breath. And your intention be infused as we roll down, hands towards the ground, and walk our hands forward. Finding a downward dog shape, whatever that is for you today. With our fingers spread out wide, feeling the pads of the fingers touching the ground, feeling the palms taking weight, keeping the knees gently bent here. And then imagining the length from the tips of your fingers. We're going to send the hips a little further back and a little higher up. And feel the length from the tips of the fingers all the way up through the shoulders and then further up to the hips. And then if you wish, you can press one heel at a time towards the ground. And breathe. And one breath, trying to press both heels towards the floor simultaneously. Get those hips a little higher, then push them a little further back with those strong arms. One more breath. And bring the knees gently down and bring yourself into pose of child to rest it out. You can choose to be in pose of child with your arms extended ahead of you, or head resting on hands, or hands by feet. And let's do 5 breaths here. And round yourself gently back up to seated on your knees if that works for you. We're coming on to hands and knees momentarily. So if this isn't working, go straight to hands and knees. Have your sip of water. And do anything you need to do to make sure that your knees are happy. You can put a little cushion under there or socks, whatever you got. The beauty of being at home is you have lots of access to those kinds of soft props. And we've often done this. So from my hands and knees position, we're turning, instead of your fingers reaching out towards the top of your mat, we're flipping those hands around so that the fingers are turned towards your knees. And we're going to play around with the fingers being close together here. So the fingers are touching each other or lined up in such a way that they're pretty close together, and thumbs as well. Take a breath there. And then if you're able, see how it is for you to start to open your thumbs away from the fingers and see if you can create space. It's a little hard to do in this position, but can you open up your fingers, create space between all of them? You might have to lift your hand off the ground for a moment. And now take more breaths. And just notice, did you get a stretch in a different way from the closed fingers versus the open fingers? Then curl your toes so that there's a little bit of a bend in your toe joints there. Your toes are anchoring you to the mat. And flip your hands around so that you're pressed now onto the back of the hands. I like to bring my hands a little closer to my knees for this one. And then we're not putting much weight, just gentle, and 2 breaths. And you know the alternates. If this one doesn't work, go back to the one we did standing, where you're just pressing one hand against the back of the other hand. Good. Shake that out. If you are okay still with sitting back onto your feet, great. This is actually a wonderful one for opening the toes, which we'll focus on the feet another time, but get a little moment with them here. We're going to take the hands behind us and interlace the fingers, pull the wrists apart from each other, and we're going to be placing the head on the ground for a little headstand preparation. So remembering that you're looking for the if you had a pointy part of your head, that's the part that takes the weight. So it's the top back of the head, crown. So fingers are interlaced, wrists are pulled apart. We're bringing our heads down and finding not the front, not even the middle, but the top, the pointy back part of the head, the crown. That's where you get the weight so that you keep the neck nice and long. And then that's all we're doing with the head. See if you can move the arms further away from the body, getting more stretch through arms, wrists, shoulders, chest, and breathe. Back of the neck remains nice and long and supportive. And simply bring the hands back towards the body. Roll off the head back into pose of child for 3 more breaths. Round yourself back up. Excellent. We're going to flip ourselves to seated with legs in front. Good. So legs are extended out in front of you. If you remember Sesame Street, we're sitting in the letter L. Legs are out. Body's up. You are in L position. In yoga, this is called staff pose. Now, taking the hands behind, and we'll start by pointing the fingers away from the body. And take a moment to just check, what's your default? Do you like your fingers to stay pretty close to each other, touching almost? Or do you naturally spread your fingers wide with your thumbs apart? Just notice which one do you normally do, and then do whatever is unusual. Whatever your default is, don't do that. So for me, my fingers are usually closer together, so I am spreading them out and seeing how my wrists are now to take a bit of weight. I'm leaning back. So my palms, my wrists are taking a little bit of weight from my leaning back towards them. Take a couple of breaths there. If that's not okay for your wrists, if you've had enough, then just stay upright in the staff position. You don't have to put any weight at all on your hands if that's not right for you. Good. So let's all come off, give them a little shake, a little break, and then do it the other direction. So now we're going to do the same thing, but with our fingers pointed towards the body. And again, if you normally have the fingers pretty close together, spread them. If you normally spread them, bring them close together. Just see how that feels different. And if the fingers, wrists, forearms are able to take weight, lean back a little. Now for me, this pose feels stronger. With my fingers pointed towards my body, my arms feel stronger. I feel like I can lean more, take more than I can with my fingers pointed the other way. So I'm choosing the strength position because we're going to lift our hips up in a moment. Please choose now whatever feels stronger for you. Either fingers pointed towards you or fingers pointed away. Or choose not to lift your hips and find your own pose that's going to work for you here. Contract your core. Put a little bit of weight onto those wrists and hands and fingers. And if you're willing, lift your hips off the ground. We're breathing in here. Check in with your neck. If your neck is good for it, we're going to drop the head. If that causes tension, then don't do it. Then return the head and drop the hips. Bring the arms out in front of you. Shoulders are low. We are holding a bundle, and it is a bundle filled with our intention. So I don't know what intentions you set for yourself, but the example we used at the beginning was courage. If your intention is courage, you have a bundle of courage. If your intention is patience, you have a bundle of patience. If your intention is self-care, this is a bundle of self-care. And we are going to sit tall, but hinge forward from the hip crease as we breathe out, holding our bundle, we're sharing it. Take a breath in, reach forward. There's so much of what you have in your bundle that you can share it out with all those who also need that intention. Breathe in. One more, sharing it forward. Then tucking your head, turn your hands over to hold on to each other. Inhale as you raise yourself up to full height. Take a moment here, we're not moving just yet. Interlace your fingers and turn your palms skyward. So we flip the hands around so the palms face the sky. One more breath here. And release those hands to the ground. Doing it again. Put the hands behind you, either fingers pointed towards your body or away. Lean into those hands if they can handle the weight, or find a different position that's better. Breathe in and lift your hips up. If your neck is good for it, breathe out, drop the head. Breathe in, return the head. Breathe out, return the hips. Find your intention. Bundled in your arms. Take a breath in, sitting tall. As you breathe out, hinge forward from the hips. Starting to reach. Pause to breathe in. Reaching and sharing your bundle as you breathe out. Pause to breathe in. Reaching, breathing out. One more pause, breathing in. One more extended spine reach. Tucking your head, turn your hands over to hold each other. Inhale as you raise your arms up to full height. Exhale as you interlace your fingers and send your palms skyward. Hold for an extra breath here. And release. Well done. We're coming down for a bridge pose and then a shavasana. So find your way to lying on the mat. And take the moments you can to enjoy. Oh, how nice it is that the earth holds us up. Get a little length in your spine here. We've got the feet hip width apart and the knees up, also hip width apart. And just like we've been working with the idea of spreading the fingers, take a moment to spread your toes here in bridge. Lift them, spread the toes, and then put them back down on the ground. Spread if you can, it's tricky, with a lot of awareness of your big toes connecting to the earth. Also squeeze your kegel and pull your low abdominals down towards your spine. And with all of that activated, lift your tailbone up off the ground. Today we're going to turn our hands over and put our palms facing down. So palms are touching the mat as you start to lift one vertebra at a time, keeping the knees hip width apart. Coming up to rest your weight on the upper back, on the shoulders, and on the back of your neck, which is remain nice and long. Breathing and then heading back down one vertebra at a time. Slowly brings your spine down. Good. Do it again. Little pause when you're down and then reactivate. Push your big toes into the mat. Squeeze your core and start to lift. One vertebra at a time. Back of the neck stays nice and long. Feeling your fingers connection to the ground here. And start to go down. We're going to do it 2 more times, but this time we're going to lift the arms up at the same time as we're lifting the hips. So once you're back down, press the big toes, activate your core, start to lift your tailbone and one vertebra at a time, and take the arms with you. So they're going to lift as your hips lift until the arms end up resting on the floor above your head. Pause there, and then reverse it, and bring the arms back with you. So the hands end up on the floor where they started once your hips are down. Do it again. And let your breath help you. Once that feels complete for you, hug your knees into your chest. Rock side to side, low back massage. Take a good breath. And decide where you would like to do your shavasana. Is it a lying shavasana, fully outstretched for you? Is it a legs up the wall shavasana today? Or seated? Seated's better for me so that you can hear my voice. Just as we did at the beginning, as we were using mindful intention to prepare for practice, I invite this to be ceremonial. So you're preparing for your Shavasana. What position are you putting your body in? Do it mindfully with an intention to be ready for Shavasana. Mindfully lengthen your spine. And bring your shoulder blades a little lower down your body. And lengthen your neck, keeping your chin tucked in a little bit. Notice the neck and head as everything starts to settle. Feel the weight of your limbs, your arms and your legs. Allow them to take the space that they need and to be as heavy as they need to be as they anchor you. And start to breathe. Noticing how are you just now at this point in class. How are your fingers, your hands, your wrists? How are your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms, and your shoulders? I invite you now, if you remember the intention that you set for your practice today, to gently consider how can your intention flow through your Shavasana. If you can't remember your intention, you have another opportunity to set one. What feeling or intention would you like to flow through your Shavasana? And we'll do that with 2 minutes of box breathing or square breathing. Breathing in for 4 counts, holding full of air for 4 counts, breathing out for 4, and holding empty for up to 4. 4, 4, 4, and up to 4. And now take 3 deeper breaths. Sigh them out any way you like. And move your body any way you like, adding any stretch here that feels good to you. Maybe you rotate your wrists a little bit in one direction. And change directions. You can do this lying down or seated. We will move to closing our practice. One more seated pose for you, and then our usual close. If you're lying, please turn onto your side and push yourself up to sitting. And once you get to sitting, I invite you to sit with your knees up, your feet on the floor, and your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. Your feet can be turned any way that's comfortable for you. And then reach your hands in front of you. So your hands are inside of your legs, reaching through. And we're going to bend at the elbows, bringing the back of the hands against the rib cage and anchoring the elbow at the inner part of the knee, inside the knee. So bend elbows. So back of the hand touches the ribs and elbow touches the inside of your knee or leg. You may feel this stretch right away. So again, we're getting into the arms, the wrists, maybe the hands even. And you can adjust this by having the knees wider, so it's less intense, or narrowing, bringing the knees a little closer together to increase the stretch through the arms and the wrists. Take a breath wherever you've chosen to be. Then you can also change where the hands are. So you've got the back of the hands against your rib cage somewhere. See what happens if you lift them up just a little. If you raise so that they're at the higher ribs, how does that change the stretch for you? Take a breath. And open the knees and lower them. So make them a little lower than where they started on the rib cage. And how does that change the stretch? And breathe. Open the knees, let go of those arms. Again, shake them out, wiggle the fingers, and find your way to any way you'd like to sit for our close. Whatever way you've chosen, feel the ground underneath you. Feel your spine lengthening tall all the way through the crown of the head. Your thumb into your hand. Inhale and raise. Shoulders low. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Together. Hands up and then behind or in front of the neck. Full extension, breathing in. Slow hands to heart, breathing out. Feel the hands pressing against each other as you take a last breath at the heart. Namaste.